Hello, welcome to our thought for the day. I'm recording this just a few days before Christmas, and I don't know what it's like for you, but it's actually doing me a lot of good to just pause in amongst all the hullabaloo of getting ready for Christmas. Getting the presents, the food, getting everything tidy and wrapped up, ready for visitors. And it's actually doing me, a lot of good to just stop and think about what it really means. And it's just that opportunity to pause and think about the amazing truth that our God came down from the heavens to be born here on earth as a tiny baby in amongst all the mess. The first Christmas wasn't perfect, was it? You know, Jesus was born and placed in an animal trough. It wasn't perfect. They hadn't got wonderful decorations. They hadn't got wrapped presents. His parents were too poor. They couldn't have bought him presents. Nothing about it was tidy and neat and perfect. And yet it was incredible. And just having this chance to stop now and think about that, and think about the privilege of knowing that and of loving God, and what that makes Christmas mean for me and hopefully for you. And whether I get my tree up or not doesn't really matter, does it? Christmas will still happen because Jesus came. There's nothing that I can do to make that any better. He came here for us to save me and to save you. So I'd like to read you a story, if that's okay. So the story is called The Christmas Goose. There was once a farmer who didn't believe in Jesus. One snowy Christmas Eve, his wife was taking their children to a service at the local church. She asked him to come, but he refused. That story is nonsense, he said. Why would God lower himself to come to earth as a man? That's ridiculous. So she and the children left, and he stayed at home. A while later, the winds grew stronger and the snow turned into a blizzard. As the man looked out of the window, all he saw was a blinding snowstorm. He sat down to relax for the evening. Then he heard a loud thump on the window. Then there was another thump. He looked out, but couldn't see more than a few feet. When the snow let up a little, he ventured outside to see what had hit his window. In the field near his house, he saw a flock of wild geese. Apparently, they had been flying south for the winter when they got caught in the snowstorm and couldn't go on. They were lost and stranded on his farm with no food or shelter. They just flapped their wings and flew around the field in low circles, blindly and aimlessly. A couple of them had flown into the window, it seemed. The man felt sorry for the geese and wanted to help them. He decided that the barn would be the best place for them to shelter. So he walked over to it, opened the doors wide, then watched and waited, hoping they would notice the open barn and go inside. But the geese just fluttered around aimlessly and didn't seem to notice the barn or realize what it could mean for them. The man tried to get their attention, but that just seemed to scare them and they moved farther away. He went into the house and returned with some bread, broke it up and made a breadcrumb trail leading to the barn. They still didn't catch on. Now he was getting frustrated. He got behind them and tried to shoo them towards the barn, but they only got more scared and scattered in every direction except towards the barn. Nothing he did could get them to go into the barn, where they would be warm and safe. "Why don't they follow me?" he exclaimed. "Can't they see this is the only place where they can survive the storm?" He thought for a moment and realised that they just wouldn't follow a human. If only I were a goose, then I could save them, he pondered. Then he had an idea. He went into the barn, got one of his own geese, carried it into his arms as he circled around behind the wild geese, and then released it. His goose flew through the flock straight into the barn, and one by one the other geese followed it to safety. He stood silently for a moment as the words he had spoken a few minutes earlier replayed in his mind. If only I were a goose, then I could save them. Then he thought about what he had said to his wife earlier. Why would God want to be like us? That's ridiculous. Suddenly, it all made sense. That is what God had done. We were like the geese, blind, lost, perishing. God sent his Son to be like us so he could show us the way and save us. That was the meaning of the birth of Christ, he realised. As the winds and snow died down, he reflected on what had happened. Suddenly, he understood why God came as a human being in the form of baby Jesus, who grew into the adult, who ministered to thousands and willingly gave his life to save us. I hope that you have a wonderful Christmas. It isn't always easy. Sometimes Christmas can be stressful with the cost of living and trying to fulfill your family's expectations with presents and food, and it's all costly. And sometimes when you're grieving, particularly when it's the first Christmas without them, it can be really heartbreaking. So if you're in that situation this Christmas, I pray for you, and I pray that you feel the peace that God can give you through the hardship. But I just pray for all of you and hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas, and that you have lovely family time together and make some very special memories. And if you happen to be carving a goose this Christmas, I hope you'll remember the story of the Christmas goose. Merry Christmas. God bless you. Goodbye.